The screaming descent lit up the Montana sky like a second sun, casting dancing shadows across the pine-covered mountainside. Kai Brennan pressed harder on the accelerator of his rescue truck, following the trail of smoke and flame that carved through the twilight. 20 years of firefighting had taught him to read disasters like others read books, and this one promised to be unlike anything he'd ever seen. The impact crater stretched 50 yards across, filled with twisted metal that gleamed with an otherworldly iridescence. No aircraft in Earth's fleet looked like this, all flowing curves and crystalline panels that caught the dying light like captured starfire. Kai grabbed his gear and plunged into the wreckage, his trained eyes scanning for survivors. "Hello? Anyone alive in there?" His voice echoed against the alien hull. Then he heard it, a wet, labored breathing that spoke of punctured lungs and failing life. Following the sound deeper into the craft's interior, Kai found her. She lay pinned beneath a beam of that same crystal metal composite, her body so still he almost missed the shallow rise and fall of her chest. Pale green skin seemed to glow with its own inner light, marked by cuts that leaked silver instead of red. Her hair spread around her head like spilled wine, deep crimson curls that seemed to move with their own current. She was undeniably alien, yet hauntingly beautiful. Kai worked quickly, using his crowbar to lever the beam just enough to pull her free. Her body felt lighter than it should, bones seeming hollow like a bird's. As he lifted her clear of the wreckage, her breathing grew more ragged, more desperate. "Come on, don't you die on me," he muttered, laying her on clear ground. Her lips had turned a disturbing shade of blue-green, and her chest barely moved. No pulse at her wrist, but then, did her people even have hearts in the same place? His medical training kicked in, airway, breathing, circulation. Her airway seemed clear, but she wasn't getting oxygen. Kai tilted her head back, pinched what he hoped was her nose, and pressed his lips to hers. Her lips were cool and tasted faintly of ozone and starlight. He breathed into her lungs once, twice, feeling her chest rise with each breath he gave her. On the third breath, something changed. Her eyes snapped open, violet irises shot through with gold, alien but achingly expressive. They fixed on his face with startling intensity as she drew her first independent breath in minutes. Her hand came up to touch her lips where his had been, wonder, and something deeper flickering across her features. "You," she whispered, her voice melodic despite its weakness. "You brought me back." Kai sat back on his heels, suddenly aware of how intimate the position was, him leaning over her, her fingers still touching her mouth. "You were dying. I just did what anyone would do." She struggled to sit up, ignoring his attempts to keep her lying down. When she looked at him again, there was something different in her eyes, recognition, reverence, and a heat that made his breath catch. "No," she said softly, reaching out to touch his face with surprising gentleness. "You did what only my bonded soul could do. You gave me breath when mine had failed." Her fingers traced his jawline. "I am Vextra of the 7th House of Zelith, and by the ancient laws of my people, my life now belongs to you." Kai helped Vextra to her feet, steadying her as she swayed against him. Her skin felt warm now, no longer the cool touch of near death, and he found himself acutely aware of every place their bodies connected. "What do you mean? Your life belongs to me? That's not how CPR works." She turned those mesmerizing violet gold eyes on him, and he felt something shift in his chest, a pull he couldn't explain. "CPR?" she repeated, testing the foreign word. "Is that what your people call the breath of revival?" "It's a medical technique. Emergency resuscitation. I was just trying to save your life." Vexatra's expression grew serious as she placed both hands on his chest, right over his heart. The gesture felt startlingly intimate. "Among my people, when the breath of life fails, only one bonded to your soul can restore it. What you call medicine, we call miracle." Her fingers curled into his shirt. "The breath bond is sacred, Kai. Brennan, your essence mingled with mine. You didn't just save my body, you claimed my spirit." "I don't want to claim anyone's spirit," Kai protested, though he made no move to step away from her touch. I'm just a firefighter. I save people. It's my job. And now I am yours to protect you, as you protected me." She smiled, and it transformed her entire face. "The bond works both ways, Breathgiver. You'll find you cannot simply walk away from me, even if you wish to." As if to prove her point, when Kai took a step back toward his truck, every instinct screamed at him to return to her side. The distance felt wrong, like being separated from his own shadow. "What the hell?" "The pull will fade with time," Vextra said gently, "but it will never fully disappear. We are connected now." Kai ran his hands through his hair, trying to process this impossible situation. "Look, I need to get you medical attention, and I have to report this crash. There are protocols." "No." Her voice carried surprising authority. "My people cannot know I survived, not yet." "Why not?" Vextra moved closer, and Kai found himself unable to retreat. She was tall for a woman, nearly matching his height, and when she placed her palm against his cheek, he leaned into the touch without thinking. "Because I was fleeing an arranged bonding to a male I despise," she whispered. "If they find me, they will drag me back to a life of servitude disguised as nobility." The vulnerability in her voice undid him. Kai covered her hand with his own, marveling at how perfectly their fingers aligned despite their different species. "What do you need?" "Time. A place to heal and plan." Her thumb traced his lower lip, and heat shot straight through him. "Your people, they mate for love, yes? Not political alliance?" "Some do," he managed, his voice rougher than intended. "Then you understand why I cannot return?" She stepped even closer, until he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. "The bond we share, it is not just duty, Kai. I can feel your heart, your desires. Can you feel mine?" He could. Somehow impossibly, he could sense her longing, her attraction to him mixing with gratitude and something deeper. "Vextra, show me what it means to choose," she breathed, rising on her toes until her lips were inches from his. The kiss was electric, nothing like the clinical mouth-to-mouth that had saved her life. Her lips were soft and eager, her body pressing against his with unmistakable need. Kai's arms came around her waist, pulling her closer as desire overwhelmed his better judgment. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Vextra's eyes had darkened, the gold flecks more prominent now. "The bond grows stronger," she murmured against his lips. "This is insane," Kai said, but he didn't let go of her. "Perhaps, but it is ours to choose." She smiled, wild and beautiful, in the dying light. "Take me home, Breathgiver. Let me show you what it means to be truly bonded." In the distance, a low hum filled the air, the sound of approaching engines that belonged to no earthly aircraft. Vextra's expression tightened. "They come," she whispered. "But they are too late, the bond is sealed." Kai's cabin sat nestled in a grove of ancient pines, hidden from the main road by a winding dirt path. As he helped Vextra from his truck, her hand lingered in his longer than necessary, sending sparks up his arm. The alien craft's destruction had bought them time, but the approaching hum of her people's ships made every moment precious. "It's not much," he said, unlocking the front door. "But it's private." Vextra stepped inside, her eyes taking in the rustic interior. Stone fireplace, leather furniture, walls lined with books. "It smells like you," she said softly. "Pine and smoke and something essentially male." The way she said it made heat pool in his stomach. "There's a guest room upstairs if you need rest." She turned to face him, and the predatory grace in her movement made his breath catch. "Do you want me in the guest room, Kai?" The question hung between them, loaded with possibility. Every rational thought told him to say yes, to maintain distance, to figure out this impossible situation with clear heads. But the bond between them pulsed with shared need, and when she took a step closer, he found himself reaching for her. "No," he admitted roughly. "I don't." Her smile was triumphant and tender at once. "Then don't send me there." Their mouths met in a kiss that was nothing like the tentative exploration outside the wreckage. This was hunger, pure and demanding. Vextra's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him against her as she backed toward the couch. Her alien strength surprised him. She could have easily overpowered him, yet she yielded to his touch with breathless sighs. "I have never," she whispered, against his neck, her lips trailing fire along his skin. "My people, we do not choose our partners for desire." "Neither do many of mine," Kai murmured, his hands sliding beneath the strange fabric of her garment. Her skin was impossibly soft, warm like silk left in sunlight. "But some of us get lucky." She pulled back to look at him, her violet eyes bright with emotion. "Is that what this is? Luck?" "I don't know what this is," he admitted, brushing a crimson curl from her face. "But I know I've never felt anything like it." Her response was to capture his lips again, deeper this time, her tongue dancing with his in a rhythm that made his pulse race. When she began working at the buttons of his shirt, her fingers trembling slightly, he caught her hands. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Because once we do this—" "The bond is already sealed," she interrupted, her voice husky with want. "This is choosing to celebrate it." She guided his hands to the fastenings of her garment, and he marveled at how the alien fabric seemed to dissolve at his touch, pooling around her feet like liquid starlight. Her body was a study in graceful curves and subtle differences, the faint luminescence of her skin, the way her pulse beat visibly at her throat in a pattern unlike human rhythm. "You're beautiful," he breathed, and meant it completely. Her laugh was music. "Even with green skin and strange eyes?" "Especially with green skin and strange eyes." He traced the elegant line of her collarbone, watching her shiver at his touch. "You're like nothing I've ever dreamed of." They moved together toward his bedroom, pausing to kiss and touch and marvel at each other. When they finally came together on his bed, it was with a tenderness that surprised them both. The bond between them seemed to guide their movements, each touch perfectly placed to bring pleasure. Vextra arched beneath him, her alien strength allowing her to match his passion with her own. Her skin glowed brighter in the throes of desire, casting ethereal patterns on the ceiling. When she cried out his name, it sounded like a prayer in an ancient tongue. Afterward they lay entwined, her head on his chest as their breathing slowly returned to normal. Her fingers traced lazy patterns on his skin, and he could feel her contentment through their connection. "The ships grow closer," she said quietly, though she made no move to leave his arms. "How long do we have?" "Perhaps hours. Perhaps minutes." She lifted her head to look at him. "They will demand I return. Will you fight for me?" Kai's arms tightened around her. "Try and stop me." The distant hum grew louder, and through the bedroom window, they could see lights descending from the star-filled sky. Vextra's expression grew determined. "Then let them come," she said, pressing a fierce kiss to his lips. "They will find I am no longer the obedient daughter they remember." The alien ships landed at dawn like falling stars, their crystalline hulls reflecting the morning light in prismatic rainbows across Kai's property. 3 vessels arranged themselves in a perfect triangle around the cabin, their arrival silent, except for the subtle displacement of air that made the pine trees sway. Kai watched from the bedroom window as figures emerged, tall, imposing beings with the same luminescent skin as Vextra, but bearing themselves with military precision. "They're here," he said quietly. Vextra rose from the bed, pulling on the strange garment that had somehow repaired itself overnight. Her movements were fluid but tense, every line of her body speaking of barely contained power. "The one in the center is Commander Thistle, my betrothed," she said, contempt clear in her voice. "The others are his honor guard." "Your betrothed?" Kai felt something cold settle in his stomach. "You didn't mention—" "Because the bond between us supersedes any political arrangement." She turned to face him, her eyes blazing with determination. "By our ancient laws, the breath bond cannot be broken by decree or force. They cannot simply take me." A resonant voice echoed from outside, speaking in liquid syllables that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. Vexitra's expression hardened. He demands I present myself, she translated, and he wants to see the primitive who dares interfere with Zilithian affairs. Her lip curled. I should have let him believe I died in the crash. Kai pulled on his clothes, his mind racing. What exactly does this breath bond mean in terms of their law? If proven genuine, it grants me the right to choose my own path. But this all will try to claim it was mere medical intervention, not true bonding. She moved to him, placing her hands on his chest. You must prove the bond is real, Kai. Show them what we've shared. How? Before she could answer, the cabin door exploded inward. The alien commander strode through, his presence filling the room like a thunderstorm. He was massive even by Zilithian standards, his skin a deeper green than Vextra's, and marked, with ceremonial scars that glowed silver in the dim light. His eyes, cold amber instead of warm violet, fixed on Kai with undisguised disgust. So this is the savage who thinks to claim a daughter of the seventh house, he said, his English accented, but perfect. 2 guards flanked him, their hands resting on weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Tysol. Vextra stepped forward, positioning herself between the commander and Kai. You have no authority here. This is not Zilithian territory. I have authority over you, bonded one. The marriage contracts were signed before your birth. His gaze shifted to Kai. And this human has violated sacred law by touching what belongs to another. I belong to no one, Vextra snapped, her own luminescence flaring brighter. Least of all you. Thysol's laugh was harsh. You speak of the breath bond, but I see only a frightened female who allowed an alien to perform crude medical procedures upon her. He gestured dismissively at Kai. Prove this bond exists, primitive. Show me you are more than a convenient excuse for Vextra's rebellion. Kai felt the challenge in those words, the dare. But more than that, he felt Vextra's fear through their connection, not of Thysol's physical threat, but of being forced into a life that would slowly kill her. Spirit, you want proof? Kai stepped forward, ignoring the guard's threatening postures. Then witness this. He reached for Vextra, pulling her into his arms despite the commander's snarl of rage. When their lips met, the bond between them blazed to life, visible as ribbons of golden light that danced around their joined bodies. The air itself seemed to sing, and every Zilithian in the room stepped back in shock. Impossible, Tysol breathed. The breath bond has not manifested visibly in 1,000 years. Because it requires true connection, Vextra said, her voice ringing with authority as she remained in Kai's arms, something you would never understand. The commander's expression shifted from disbelief to calculation. Even if the bond is genuine, you are still bound by duty to your house, your people. No. Vextra's chin lifted defiantly. I claim the Aitaisma right of choice. By ancient law, one who has formed the breath bond may choose their own path. The right of choice was abolished centuries ago, but never formally rescinded. A new voice spoke from the doorway, and another Zilithian entered, older, wearing robes instead of armor. The old laws still stand, Commander. Thisal whirled on the newcomer. Counselor Veltar, you overstep. I observe and record, the counselor said calmly. And I have witnessed a true breath bond. The female has the right to choose. The commander's rage was palpable, his scarred skin flaring with angry light. Then she chooses exile. If she remains with this human, she can never return to Zelith. Vextra's grip on Kai tightened, but her voice remained steady. So be it. You would abandon your people, your family. I would choose love over duty, she said simply. Something you will never understand. Thysol's hand moved to his weapon, but the counselor raised a restraining hand. The choice is made, Commander. Honor demands we respect it. For a moment, violence hung in the air like a drawn blade. Then Thistle stepped back, his expression cold with fury, and something that might have been hurt. "You are dead to us," he said to Vextra. "Do not think to return when this human grows tired of his exotic pet." Kai started forward, anger flaring, but Vextra held him back. "He seeks to provoke you," she murmured. "Do not give him the excuse." The commander and his guards withdrew, leaving only the counselor behind. The older Zilithian approached them, his ancient eyes kind. "The path you have chosen will not be easy," he said to Vextra, "but perhaps it is time for new bridges to be built between our peoples." He turned to Kai. "Guard her well, human. She has given up everything for you." "I know," Kai said quietly, "and she'll never regret it." As the ships departed, Vextra sagged. Against him, the weight of her choice finally hitting her. "I am truly alone now," she whispered. "No," Kai said, holding her tighter. "You're not alone. You're home." 6 months later, Kai stood before the newly constructed Interspecies Relations Center, watching as construction crews put the finishing touches on the building that would serve as Earth's first official embassy for off-world visitors. Vextra emerged from the main entrance, her red curls caught by the autumn breeze, a tablet in her hands displaying architectural plans. "The communication arrays are finally calibrated," she said, moving to his side with the fluid grace that still made his breath catch. "We should be able to establish contact with the Zilithian Council within the week." The months since her people's departure had been a whirlwind of revelation and adaptation. Word of first contact had spread quickly through government channels, leading to Kai and Vextra being recruited as Earth's primary liaisons for interspecies relations. Their unique bond had become both a symbol of hope and a practical tool for building trust between worlds. "Any word from Councillor Veltar?" Kai asked, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "He's convinced 3 other houses to support opening formal diplomatic relations." She leaned back against his chest, and he felt her contentment through their connection. "It seems our choice has inspired others to question old traditions." "What about Thysil?" Vextra's expression grew thoughtful. "Even he has begun to see the wisdom in alliance rather than isolation. The universe is vast, Kai. My people need friends, not subjects." They walked together toward the residential wing of the complex, their home now, designed to accommodate both human and Zilithian needs. The building itself was a work of art, blending Earth architecture with Zilithian crystal growing techniques to create something entirely new. "I have news," Vextra said as they entered their apartment, her voice carrying a note of excitement that made him turn to look at her fully. "Good news, I hope?" She smiled, that radiant expression that had first captured his heart in the wreckage of her ship. "The best. 3 more Zilithian vessels have requested permission to establish a permanent settlement here. Exiles like me, seeking a different path." "That's wonderful." Kai pulled her close, marveling as always at how perfectly she fit in his arms. "You won't be the only one of your kind on Earth anymore. I was never the only one," she said softly, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "I have you. We share the same breath, the same heartbeat. Species matters less than souls." Their kiss was tender, full of the deep affection that had grown from desperate attraction into something unshakable. When they parted, Vextra's eyes held a new light. "There's something else," she said. "The doctors confirmed it this morning. Our bond has created something unprecedented." Kai's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she said, placing his hand on her still flat stomach, "that love truly can bridge any gap, even biological ones." The implications hit him like a thunderbolt. "Is that possible?" "Apparently, the breath bond does more than connect souls. It harmonizes genetic patterns." Her smile was radiant. "We're going to have a child, Kai. The first human Zilithian hybrid in history." He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around as joy overwhelmed him. When he set her down, his hands framed her face reverently. "Are you sure? Is it safe?" "Both our medical teams are monitoring everything carefully. But yes, I'm sure. And yes, it's safe. She pressed her forehead to his. Our child will be a bridge between worlds, proof that different species can not only coexist, but create something beautiful together. That evening, they stood on their balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. In the distance, the lights of 3 Zilithian ships could be seen descending through the atmosphere, refugees seeking a new beginning, guided by the beacon of hope that Kai and Vextra's union had created. Do you ever regret it? Kai asked, his arms wrapped around her from behind, his hands resting protectively over their unborn child. Giving up your world for this one? Vextra leaned back against him, her luminescent skin glowing softly in the twilight. I didn't give up my world, she said. I expanded it. This is our world now, human and Zilithian together. What do you think they'll call our child? A miracle, she said without hesitation, the first of a new generation that will know no boundaries between stars. As if in response to her words, the baby moved for the first time, a flutter of life that both parents felt simultaneously through their bond. Kai's breath caught, and Vextra's hand covered his. Hello, little bridge builder, she whispered to her belly. Your parents can't wait to meet you. Above them, the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky, some familiar to Kai's earthborn eyes, others pointing toward distant Zenith. But all of them seemed to shine with approval on the impossible love story unfolding below. In the months since that desperate moment in the wreckage, when a human's breath had saved an alien life, 2 worlds had discovered they had more in common than either had dreamed. And in the growing life that Vextra carried, the future itself stirred, a future where love would always be the strongest force in any universe. I love you, Kai whispered against her ear. And I love you, she replied, turning in his arms to kiss him as the stars looked down and approved. From first breath to last across all the spaces between worlds, their child kicked again, as if eager to join the conversation, and both parents laughed, the sound carrying on the evening breeze. Like a promise of wonders yet to come. The end.